Hello, welcome to MyWorld. I'm Jay Marcus. So this past weekend we learned that while she's certainly talented, it wasn't enough to make Susan Boyle the winner of Britain's Got Talent. Now, Boyle drew criticism last week after the increasing pressure caused her to lash out at reporters, and some say she may have even dropped an F-bomb. And now there are reports that Ms. Boyle has checked herself into a hospital for exhaustion. You know, I sort of thought that thing was usually reserved for after you hit it big. Anyway. Look, I never really understood the fascination with Ms. Boyle to begin with. I mean, this all started because everyone was shocked that she had talent. You know, that whole judge the book by its cover thing. Now, I'm really glad she brought that into the spotlight, but it's been a saying for decades, okay? I'm sure her story will be heeded just as closely as the original. Now, wasn't this the whole purpose of the show to begin with, by the way, to just find people who have talent? I mean, what's the big deal? She's talented. Now, if she wants to, she'll find ways to cash in on it, like all the other runners-up do on these talent shows. So the show did its job and found somebody who's talented, but for her sake, I hope she lets this one go. Because if society has taught us anything, it's that tabloids love failure. And if she stays in the spotlight, the pressure to succeed will actually get much greater than it was to simply just try to win a game show. I mean, if you want to know about pressure and failure, just ask Britney Spears. I think she's got a thing or two to say about that. Well, in stranger news, though, fandom was sent into an uproar last week as the producers of the original film and TV adaptation of Buffy the Vampire Slayer announced that they are looking to do a new Buffy film without any of the TV show's famous characters, actors, or participation from franchise creator Joss Whedon. Now, comments are abounding on websites all over the internet stating that fans will refuse to even consider going to see any Buffy iteration without the participation of Mr. Whedon. And to this, I really only have one thing to say. Grow up. Seriously. You Whedonites are making Trekkies seem downright reasonable. Actually, let's take a look at Star Trek's storied past to see if maybe we could learn a lesson about Buffy. So back in the 60s, it may have been Gene Roddenberry who created the show, but it was actually Gene Coon and a bunch of other writers who were really considered the people behind the renaissance of the original series, more so than Roddenberry himself. Sure, he created it, but they were the ones that breathed life into these characters. Now, Gene Coon and all these other writers, they weren't involved with any of the Star Trek films which later came out. The best of those were actually done by Nicholas Meyer and Harve Bennett, two people who were new to the franchise. Now, what about this new Star Trek film, which is attracting Trekkies and non-Trekkies alike? I mean, with the exception of Leonard Nimoy and a very brief appearance by Major Barrett Roddenberry, there isn't a single original player involved, and yet this thing is taking the world by storm. Now look, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say that a Joss Whedon Buffy wouldn't be fantastic. I really know it would. And it's okay to be skeptical about this, but, try to keep an open mind, alright? Just because he's not there doesn't mean it can't still be good, that there aren't other good, creative minds out there. And I think Joss would be the first one to tell you that. But I wouldn't speak for him. But, while we're on the subject of being unreasonable, here's something. I just have a question for you guys. It's a totally different subject. What would you reasonably give for a good night's sleep? Simple enough question. Now, I suppose if a rooster were sitting on my bed, as it is in this commercial over here, it would be as simple as getting up, getting a shotgun, and just dealing with the feathers and mess. But what if you were just having trouble falling asleep? Insomnia, something like that. How much is too much to go through to just sleep through the night? I was listening to a commercial for Ambien, and they listed the following warnings in the commercial. I had to look this up on their website, though, to make sure that I got it just right. Listen carefully. When taking, don't drive or operate machinery. It's fair enough, you get tired, you don't want heavy machinery. It's a safety thing, I get that, fine. Plan to devote 7 to 8 hours to sleep before being active. Okay, that sounds reasonable. It actually sounds like they're very confident this thing will work. So, set aside the time, just in case. Fine. Sleepwalking and eating or driving while not fully awake with amnesia for the event, as well as behaviors such as being more outgoing or aggressive than normal, confusion, agitation, and hallucinations have been reported. It's actually getting kind of creepy now. There's a low occurrence of side effects associated with the short-term use of Ambien. The most commonly observed side effects in controlled clinical trials were drowsiness, dizziness, and diarrhea. Now, I hope the diarrhea isn't while you're asleep, because I actually don't see any commercials that show you a free pack of Depends coming with the pills. Alright, so here's the deal. They covered all the bases and listed quite a few warnings, which, they're responsible for doing so. And they're not alone. You can't sit through a single TV show without seeing a commercial for some sort of product with a laundry list of warnings and side effects. Now, what really strikes me is that the list of warnings is longer than the list of benefits from actually taking these medications. So I really want to ask, is it worth the trip? Because I don't know about you, but a decent night's sleep isn't worth being pissed off and getting temporary amnesia. Not to mention driving while not fully awake, which to me is kind of like driving drunk, only worse, because you're not even trying to be good at it because you're asleep. You don't know you're doing it in the first place. Anyway, I'm just saying. It seems a little unreasonable to me. But, either way, that's the well-rested view from MyWorld. I hope to see you again next time. Thanks for stopping by.